You don't belong here, Ethan muttered under his breath as he stepped into the vast strategy hall of Queen Valera, the plasma-lit maps casting a warm red glow across his face and the polished metal floors echoing every cautious footstep, dust motes dancing in the streaks of light like tiny stars suspended in air. His hands clutched the leather strap of his satchel, trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of responsibility that felt far larger than his mere human frame. Around him, the air hummed with the quiet pulse of energy shields and soft mechanical whirs from hovering drones monitoring every corner. The temperature controlled precisely, yet a faint scent of ozone and warm metal permeated the hall. Queen Valara's golden eyes, sharp and assessing, tracked his movements as she spoke to her officers in clipped, precise tones, their voices a rhythm of orders and calculations that made Ethan's pulse quicken, every instinct telling him he was out of place. Yet he forced his shoulders back and moved closer, trying to absorb the intricate holographic charts that floated above crystalline consoles. The alien symbols shimmered in turquoise and violet, casting reflections across the armored surfaces, and Ethan's eyes followed them with a mix of awe and fascination, noting the precise engineering of the room, the subtle hum of plasma conduits running along the walls, the way light bent across the queen's ceremonial robes, highlighting every contour with an almost liquid shimmer. Just as he was about to step back, unsure of where he should stand, a small figure darted through the gap between the officers, her tiny hands reaching toward him, and Princess Leora's bright, cerulean eyes locked onto his with an intensity that stopped him cold, her voice a melodic chime as she whispered, "Don't be scared," before hugging him tightly. The sudden warmth of the gesture grounding him in a way that the calculated precision of the hall never could. Ethan knelt slightly to match her height, feeling the softness of her small frame against the rigid lines of his jacket, the sensors from hovering drones reflecting off their clasped forms, capturing a moment of pure connection amidst the calculated environment. Valara's expression shifted subtly as she observed from a distance, the corner of her eyes softening in recognition of the human compassion on display, a silent understanding passing between the queen and her child that Ethan could not yet interpret fully, but it made the tension in his chest ease for a brief, precious moment. The air seemed to thrum with potential, each breath carrying the faint warmth of hope as Ethan and Leora shared that silent bond, the distant hum of energy fields blending with the quiet cadence of their breaths, creating a rhythm that held the promise of something larger, something beyond the structured calculations and disciplined routines of the alien court, hinting at the adventures and moral choices that awaited beyond the doors of the strategy hall, leaving Ethan's mind racing with questions, possibilities, and the quiet certainty that this encounter, fleeting as it seemed, would alter the course of his journey in ways he had yet to understand. Ethan Carter led Princess Leora through the winding corridors of the alien citadel, the polished floors reflecting the pale glow of holographic indicators above, the faint hum of energy conduits providing a steady backdrop as he carefully stepped over the seams of metal plates. The princess's small hand remained in his, her fingers warm and reassuring, her wide eyes scanning the walls adorned with intricate alien motifs that shifted subtly in color as he passed, creating a mesmerizing dance of light and shadow. Ethan's mind raced, cataloging every detail, the texture of the walls, the subtle vibrations of the floor beneath his boots, the way the overhead lighting caught the edges of Leora's silver hair, framing her youthful face in a halo of soft luminescence. As they turned a corner, they entered a chamber filled with translucent displays, each hovering screen projecting tactical schematics and energy flow diagrams that glimmered in shades of teal and violet. Ethan paused, pointing to a floating projection of the Citadel's central energy grid, explaining to Leora in measured tones how the power channels worked, his voice calm and steady, emphasizing clarity and confidence. She tilted her head, curiosity shining in her cerulean eyes, leaning closer to inspect the intricate network of lines, occasionally reaching out a small hand as if to touch the projections, her laughter soft and melodic as she commented on the patterns. Ethan responded with gentle encouragement, kneeling slightly to match her height and guiding her fingers along the edges of the holographic light, the interaction simple yet filled with a profound sense of trust and camaraderie. Outside, through the vast observation windows, the alien sky stretched endlessly, a gradient of deep purples and warm oranges as distant stars began to shimmer against the dusk, casting reflective highlights across the room and catching in the contours of Ethan's face and the princess's delicate form. The quiet mechanical whirs of hovering drones mingled with the soft hum of the citadel's energy field, creating a serene rhythm that made the pair's small conversation feel intimate and suspended in time. As Ethan led Leora to a smaller study chamber lined with crystalline workstations, he noticed her gaze linger on one of the holographic displays projecting a model of a distant planet, her eyes wide with wonder, lips slightly parted as she asked questions about its composition and the strange life forms illustrated there. Ethan smiled, carefully choosing words that were informative yet accessible, weaving a narrative of scientific discovery and wonder, encouraging her natural curiosity while maintaining a sense of safety and reassurance. The princess's laughter echoed softly off the high walls, blending with the ambient hum, creating a moment of pure connection and warmth, a bridge between worlds. While Ethan felt the weight of responsibility tempered by the joy of nurturing this young mind, understanding that in guiding her, he was not just teaching, but forging a bond that transcended their differences. The energy of the citadel humming around them like a protective cocoon, hinting at the larger adventures and moral choices that awaited just beyond the corridors they now traversed. Ethan Carter and Princess Leora stepped into the observation deck, overlooking the vast alien city, the floor panels beneath their feet glowing faintly in soft blue and gold as energy flows pulsed quietly through the structure. The princess pointed toward a cluster of crystalline towers catching the light of a distant sun, her voice full of wonder as she asked about the patterns and the way energy was distributed throughout the city. Ethan bent slightly to her level, tracing the projections with his finger, explaining how the channels worked to maintain stability, his words steady and calm, reassuring her curiosity while maintaining an air of expertise. The light from the setting sun outside cast long, shifting shadows across their faces, illuminating Leora's delicate features and the subtle shimmer of Ethan's eyes reflecting her fascination. Overhead, transparent panels revealed streaks of distant stars as ships moved silently through orbit, their trails leaving a soft glow across the void, and Ethan described their trajectories in simple terms, making her laugh with the precision and care of his analogies. Leora's small hand brushed a console as she leaned in closer, Ethan guiding her movements to avoid triggering any active controls, the closeness reinforcing a growing trust between them. The hum of energy from the citadel combined with the soft mechanical whispers of drones created a calming rhythm, blending with the princess's laughter, filling the vast space with warmth. As they moved to a side chamber filled with educational modules and holographic displays of alien flora and fauna, Ethan encouraged Leora to interact, her small fingers following along the animated projections, absorbing details of textures, colors, and motions that were alien yet mesmerizing. She paused at a hologram of a floating plant that pulsed with light, asking Ethan why it glowed in cycles, and he explained patiently the concept of bioluminescence in ways she could grasp, using gestures and comparisons to the few earthly plants she knew. Outside, the city lights began to twinkle, reflecting off the translucent surfaces of the room, and Ethan noticed her eyes widening with excitement at each new demonstration. He guided her gently from one display to the next, narrating with calm enthusiasm, the pacing deliberate to let her process each detail, all while observing her reactions for subtle cues of understanding or delight. The moment was intimate and focused entirely on learning and shared discovery, the larger world outside temporarily suspended as Ethan and Leora explored, the vast alien landscape serving as a breathtaking backdrop to a quiet, unfolding bond built on trust, curiosity, and the pure joy of connection that transcended the differences between human and alien. Every gesture, every shared glance, every soft word contributed to a growing tapestry of understanding, promising a foundation for the adventures and challenges that awaited beyond the citadel walls, and leaving both of them quietly aware that this day marked the beginning of something profoundly meaningful. Ethan Carter guided Princess Leora down a spiral walkway that overlooked the city plaza below, the translucent floor beneath them shimmering with embedded light circuits that pulsed in time with the distant hum of energy fields. The princess clutched his hand tightly, her small frame pressed slightly against his side as she pointed toward the fountains that projected streams of luminescent liquid into the air, each arc refracting the golden light from the setting sun. Ethan knelt to meet her gaze, explaining how the fountains were powered by harmonic resonance of captured solar energy, describing in detail the delicate balance of flow and light while using gestures that mirrored the motion of the streams above. Leora's eyes widened with each word, her tiny fingers reaching out as if she could touch the arcs of liquid light, and her laugh rang clear and melodic, echoing softly across the open space. The skyline of crystalline towers reflected the fiery glow of dusk, the long shadows stretching across the plaza, blending with the soft movement of floating drones and the glimmer of protective energy barriers, creating a visual symphony that enthralled both human and alien observer. As they reached the edge of the walkway, Ethan guided her to a small observation platform that protruded slightly over the plaza, allowing them a closer view of the flowing energy conduits and the interplay of light and shadow on the surfaces of the buildings. The princess crouched slightly to examine a miniature model projected from the platform, her voice filled with wonder as she asked questions about how the structures maintained their balance and energy efficiency, and Ethan responded with calm, deliberate explanations, carefully adjusting his tone to match her curiosity and level of understanding. Using analogies drawn from familiar terrestrial phenomena to make the alien concepts more accessible. A soft breeze drifted through the open platform, carrying the faint scent of ozone and metallic warmth, lifting strands of Leora's silver hair and brushing against Ethan's jacket, anchoring them in the moment. He watched as her expression shifted from concentration to delight with each new discovery, and he felt the weight of his responsibility ease slightly, reassured by her trust and engagement. Overhead, the first stars appeared in the alien sky, their points of light mirrored in the reflective surfaces of the city below, casting tiny glimmers on Ethan's face and highlighting the contours of the princess's features. They shared a quiet moment, the distant sounds of the city muted beneath the hum of energy conduits, the shared laughter and whispered observations creating a bridge between their worlds. Ethan pointed out the orbiting satellites, explaining their trajectories and functions in a way that connected them to Leora's curiosity about motion and patterns, her hands gesturing to follow the arcs of light, and together they traced imagined pathways through the air, building a tapestry of shared wonder and understanding. Each exchange, each glance, each gentle gesture contributed to a growing bond, the city and its technological marvels forming a breathtaking backdrop to their exploration, hinting at the moral choices, discoveries, and connections that awaited them beyond the walls of the citadel, and leaving both human and princess suspended in a moment of awe and anticipation. Ethan Carter and Princess Leora entered a quiet atrium within the citadel, the soft golden light of the setting sun filtering through translucent panels above, scattering across the smooth, polished floor in dappled patterns that shifted with each movement. The hum of energy conduits and the faint whirring of maintenance drones provided a steady backdrop as Ethan knelt to guide Leora toward a series of interactive displays designed to teach the principles of alien engineering and planetary ecology. She leaned in close, her small fingers tracing the edges of a holographic model of the Citadel's outer defenses, eyes wide with wonder as she asked question after question, her voice clear and full of curiosity. Ethan smiled, adjusting the displays and carefully explaining the function of each component, using analogies to familiar Earth technology so that the concepts felt tangible and understandable, while ensuring she could explore safely. The light from the panels reflected across their faces, highlighting the soft shimmer of Leora's hair and the determined lines on Ethan's, capturing the intimacy of the moment against the grandeur of the alien architecture. Outside the glass walls, the city stretched toward the horizon, spires catching the sun's last rays, satellites and energy nodes glinting faintly, their coordinated glow a subtle symphony that made the vastness of the world around them feel alive. Leora's laughter and excited exclamations blended with the quiet mechanical sounds of the atrium, filling the space with warmth and a sense of shared discovery. Ethan guided her hand gently across a display showing the flow of energy throughout the citadel, explaining how balance and precision were required to maintain stability, emphasizing both the science and the artistry of the construction, and Leora listened intently, her cerulean eyes reflecting the pulsing lights as she absorbed each explanation with delight. They moved to another station, where miniature models of alien flora responded to touch, glowing softly as her fingertips passed over them, and Ethan demonstrated subtle manipulations, showing how energy and matter interacted within the ecosystem. The gentle breeze from the ventilation system carried the faint scent of ozone and warm metal, mingling with the soft luminescence, creating a sensory layer that heightened their focus and attention. Each moment was marked by careful observation, shared learning, and unspoken understanding, the bond between human and princess growing steadily with every gesture and word. The atrium's high ceiling and expansive glass offered glimpses of the twilight sky beyond, stars beginning to appear, distant planets casting faint light, and Ethan took a moment to point them out, telling Leora their names and properties, weaving a narrative that blended science, wonder, and imagination, leaving her eyes shining with curiosity. As they paused to observe the miniature orbits and pulsing nodes, Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction in seeing her engagement and joy, knowing that this simple act of sharing knowledge had forged a connection that transcended worlds, hinted at future adventures, and promised lessons and discoveries still waiting beyond the citadel's walls, creating a moment suspended in time, full of potential and hope. Ethan Carter and Princess Leora paused at the entrance to a soaring observatory chamber, the walls of transparent alloy revealing a panorama of the alien city bathed in the fading amber of the sunset, each crystalline spire reflecting fractured light that shimmered across the floor in shifting patterns. The soft hum of energy conduits filled the space, mingling with the faint mechanical whispers of hovering maintenance drones, creating a rhythm that set the pace of their exploration. Ethan bent to her level, pointing to the sprawling streets and elevated walkways below, explaining how gravitational stabilization and energy flow ensured the city's structures remained balanced despite the unusual terrain, his words calm and precise, carefully tailored to her level of understanding. Leora leaned forward, eyes wide and sparkling, her small hands reaching toward the projections of flowing energy that hovered above the floor in delicate arcs of light, and Ethan guided her gently, ensuring her fingers traced the paths safely, their touch synchronized with the pulse of the luminous displays. The princess's laughter and exclamations of wonder echoed softly through the chamber, blending with the low vibrations of the energy grid to create a sense of harmony and shared discovery, a human and alien moment suspended in time. Ethan described the principles behind the floating transportation platforms visible in the distance, drawing comparisons to familiar Earth mechanisms so that Leora could grasp the concepts, her mind absorbing each detail with eager fascination. Overhead, the first stars of the alien night appeared, tiny points of light mirrored in the surfaces of the city below, the contrast of distant celestial bodies with the glowing cityscape framing the moment in visual majesty. The princess paused at a projection of a neighboring sector, her voice curious as she asked about the patterns of energy distribution and how the inhabitants coordinated their activities, and Ethan responded thoughtfully, weaving a narrative that combined scientific accuracy with imaginative storytelling, encouraging her innate curiosity while fostering a sense of security and understanding. The room's translucent panels reflected the ambient light in iridescent patterns that danced across their faces, and Ethan noticed her subtle expressions of concentration and delight, her wide eyes taking in the interplay of technology and beauty. Every gesture, every explanation, every shared glance contributed to a growing bond of trust and mutual fascination, the human and the young alien bridging their worlds through knowledge, empathy, and simple companionship. As the observatory's energy hum persisted and the city below shifted from golden light to the gentle glow of evening, Ethan realized that these small moments of shared exploration and discovery had laid a foundation for understanding, connection, and the moral choices that awaited beyond the citadel walls, promising further lessons, challenges, and the quiet anticipation of adventures yet to come. Ethan Carter and Princess Leora stepped cautiously into the citadel's central atrium, where the domed ceiling reflected the waning sunlight in a cascade of warm amber and soft violet tones, the polished alloy floor beneath their feet echoing faintly with each step. The princess's hand remained in Ethan's, her small fingers curling around his with an unspoken reassurance, while her eyes tracked the shifting light and delicate patterns projected by hovering energy conduits above. Ethan guided her to a series of interactive displays showcasing the city's environmental systems, explaining in detail the way renewable energy nodes, gravity stabilization fields, and atmospheric regulators functioned in harmony, using analogies from Earth to help her understand the complex alien mechanisms. Leora leaned closer, tilting her head and tracing the holographic projections with her tiny hands, her laughter ringing clear and melodic as she commented on the light pulses and rotating structures, her curiosity palpable. Ethan mirrored her gestures with careful guidance, ensuring she could explore safely while encouraging her natural inquisitiveness, noting the subtle way her eyes reflected the iridescent glow of the models. Beyond the transparent walls, the alien city stretched into the horizon, spires of crystalline structures catching the last rays of the sun and casting fractured reflections across the atrium, while distant satellites glinted faintly, adding a cosmic backdrop that made the vast urban landscape feel alive and dynamic. The hum of energy conduits combined with the soft mechanical whir of hovering drones created a constant, soothing rhythm, grounding them in the present while highlighting the contrast between the human and alien presence. Ethan led Leora toward a display of microclimate zones, showing how local ecosystems were maintained with precision, describing the interactions between flora, fauna, and energy management systems, each explanation accompanied by gentle demonstrations that allowed her to see, touch, and understand the effects firsthand. Her cerulean eyes widened with excitement as she followed the flow of energy and the movement of tiny projected creatures, and Ethan's voice remained calm and deliberate, narrating with a rhythm that matched her curiosity and engagement. The observatory's light reflected across the room in shifting patterns, highlighting the contours of Ethan's focused expression and Leora's joyful concentration, creating a tableau of shared discovery and mutual respect. Each exchange of gestures, words, and glances deepened their connection, building a foundation of trust and understanding that bridged species and cultures. As they paused to observe a holographic projection of the Citadel's power core, Ethan noticed her fascination and mirrored it with a patient, encouraging smile, guiding her thoughts toward exploration and comprehension. The moment was quiet, yet charged with potential, a calm before the unfolding of new challenges, and both human and princess lingered in the shared warmth of learning and companionship, aware that this step in their journey was shaping the path for experiences and moral choices that awaited beyond the atrium's walls. Ethan Carter and Princess Leora paused at the edge of the Citadel's grand observation balcony. The vast alien city sprawled beneath them in a mosaic of crystalline towers and softly glowing streets, the last rays of the sun casting long, warm shadows that flickered across the polished floor. The hum of energy conduits and faint mechanical whispers of hovering drones surrounded them, punctuating the quiet of the evening as Ethan bent to Leora's level, his voice calm and measured, explaining the function of the city's energy nodes and how they harmonized with the planetary systems beyond. Leora's cerulean eyes were wide with fascination, her small hands hovering over the holographic projections that shimmered in delicate arcs, and Ethan guided her fingers gently, tracing the paths of energy and showing her how flow and balance could create stability and life in a complex system. The princess laughed softly as arcs of luminescent light shifted with her touch, and Ethan smiled, careful to maintain a pace that allowed her curiosity to flourish while keeping her safe, the warm glow highlighting the contours of their faces. Beyond the balcony, the alien skyline stretched toward the horizon, towers of iridescent crystal catching the first glimmers of distant stars, while energy nodes pulsed faintly in rhythm, creating a gentle, almost musical ambience that resonated through the observation chamber. Ethan spoke of the satellites orbiting silently above, explaining in precise but accessible terms how they monitored environmental conditions and maintained equilibrium across the city, weaving in analogies to terrestrial technology that helped Leora bridge the gap between the alien and familiar. She asked questions about the patterns she saw, and he answered with patience, guiding her hands and movements, her tiny fingers brushing the edges of flowing holographic projections, her laughter and exclamations blending with the subtle ambient hum to create a moment of intimate discovery. The translucent panels of the balcony reflected shifting hues of violet and gold across their faces, emphasizing the expressions of focus and wonder, and Ethan observed her careful attention, noting the spark of comprehension in her eyes and the way she leaned forward to explore further. Each interaction strengthened a bond of trust and mutual understanding, the human and young alien connecting through shared exploration and gentle guidance, the city's technological elegance serving as both classroom and backdrop. As the sky darkened and distant celestial bodies twinkled against the deepening night, Ethan felt the significance of the moment, the subtle moral clarity of patience, kindness, and the shared joy of learning echoing through the silent grandeur of the citadel, hinting at the future challenges, decisions, and connections that awaited beyond the balcony, leaving both human and princess poised on the edge of discovery and wonder. Ethan Carter stepped back from the balcony with Princess Leora still clutching his hand, the city lights below beginning to twinkle like scattered jewels as the alien night settled in, the warm amber of sunset fading into deep violet and indigo across the sky. The soft hum of energy conduits and occasional mechanical whispers of hovering drones surrounded them, creating a quiet rhythm that filled the vast open space with an almost meditative atmosphere. Ethan guided her to a small seating area near a panoramic observation window, the glass stretching from floor to ceiling and reflecting the soft glow of city lights in intricate patterns, casting delicate shadows across their faces. Leora's eyes sparkled with a mixture of wonder and satisfaction, her tiny hands tracing the outlines of the city below, while Ethan spoke softly about the interconnectedness of the energy grids, the balance of ecosystems, and the principles of harmony that govern both nature and technology in this alien world. He used simple, relatable comparisons to familiar Earth concepts, his tone calm and deliberate, allowing her to absorb the information at her own pace, while encouraging questions and exploration. The princess leaned close, her head tilted slightly as she followed each explanation, and Ethan noticed the subtle expressions of comprehension and delight that passed across her face, a silent affirmation of their shared understanding. Outside, distant stars reflected on the crystalline surfaces of the towers, creating a tapestry of twinkling light that seemed almost alive, their patterns mirrored faintly in Leora's cerulean eyes. Ethan guided her attention to specific constellations and energy nodes, describing their functions and the harmony required to maintain stability, the conversation flowing easily as the young princess connected abstract concepts with tangible observations. The warmth of their shared moments contrasted with the vastness of the city and the expansive sky beyond, the human and young aliens suspended in a bubble of quiet companionship and intellectual curiosity. Each gesture, each smile, each word contributed to a sense of connection that transcended species and cultural differences, a bond grounded in empathy, knowledge, and trust. As the ambient lighting shifted to softer hues, emphasizing the silhouettes of their forms against the sprawling cityscape, Ethan observed the pride and curiosity reflected in Leora's gaze, understanding that these small, deliberate interactions were shaping her perspective and fostering a foundation of moral clarity, intellectual wonder, and emotional resilience. The distant hum of the citadel, the gentle play of light across their faces, and the subtle warmth of shared laughter created a tableau that spoke to the profound value of human compassion and guidance. They remained in quiet contemplation, absorbing the beauty and complexity of their surroundings, fully aware that this moment marked the culmination of their day of discovery, yet also hinted at future adventures, decisions, and moral choices awaiting them beyond the citadel. leaving both human and princess poised in a shared sense of awe, understanding, and quiet anticipation.